Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. Turn off the music for now. Hopefully my PC doesn't get overwhelmed. I really need to upgrade the memory on it. Damn. Current amount is not doing it. Chat, I don't know why your message doesn't show up for me in OBS, Genji. But hello. How are you doing? I don't know why it doesn't show. All the sounds should be good. Yeah. Everything should be good. Stop this. Maybe this helps a little bit of the load. Yeah. Let me do a little bit of warm up. Let's see if there's something wrong with my chatter or what. I have trend in both channels, okay. Test. Let me see if this appears in my OBS. Right now it's not. Oh, there you go. Now it's appearing. Can you try typing something again? Anything. Just type something in chat. So that I can test if it appears on my OBS or not. Oh, there you go. What up, Wind? Yeah, that's a tut message. That's showing up. What about YouTube though? Can someone type on YouTube and see what happens? Just need to make sure that everything is working here. And in the meantime, I'm just gonna wait for people to join and do a little bit of warm up. This is not practice, so I don't care about having it be like. I'm not trying to thoughtfully look at the strafes and hit the shots, right? I'm just warming up my hands, so I don't care. I'm just gonna spam dashes and stuff. I can probably even answer questions while I'm doing this. The warm-up I'm doing is not mindful work, at least. Alright, there we go. So YouTube chat seems to be working, which is good. Let me just check this real quick. It seems like my PC will handle this, just barely. I have like less than 1 gigabyte of RAM left.
My aim is unerring.
Okay, what up, Penguin? Exactly, just trying to play on lower sense. I like lower sense, I play on 4K effective DPI. Some people like higher sense. I would say if you wanna go the higher sense route, I would not recommend going above 8K. If you really want high sense, 10K probably the max, that's like doable. High sense runs into a few issues, such as how it can hurt your wrist, right? Because of how reliant it's gonna be on like those micro adjustments. You're gonna be putting a lot of strain in your wrists. So high sense in general can be problematic because of health, not just because of like thinking about aim, right? Ever since I swapped to low sense, I've never had a single issue with like wrist pain or anything like that. Not that I had much before, but to be fair, I was young. I still am. I'm only 23, right? But like I'm not on my teenage years where the body is made of like miracle stuff and it's just like it doesn't seem to matter what you do, it just nothing hurts or anything, alright? There are no consequences essentially for your actions. But yeah, I did a few times when I was on high latency have a little bit of issue from like overplaying on a high sense, right? So even just from health concerns, I would lower my sense. I would also say that like a lot of the benefits from high sense are not that useful because they're essentially noob traps, right? High sense is useful for players that have bad crosshair discipline, right? Like if I want to hit this BAP, I should be putting my crosshair close to him, right? I shouldn't start my crosshair here and try to hit the BAP, right? I should be trying to put the crosshair close and just track, right? Keep my crosshair close at all times, right? And sure, I'm gonna end up moving my mouse around a lot to follow him the more he moves, but I'm not doing an adjustment like this at once, right? So, good crosshair discipline is one of the main things that that makes low sense better, because it's just more precise, just much more precise than high sense. It's not like there are no like upsides and downsides to each, right? I wouldn't say that low sense necessarily has to be slow. Like if you look at the way that I'm playing here, the amount of flicks that I'm making, and even just like 180 flicks, right? Like let me try to one-shot this tracer. Oops. I reacted to the tracer doing the blink across and didn't do a 180 like I wanted, but like I can do a 180 just fine even on a low sense, right? So it's not like speed is just like something that only exists in a high sense. And sure, you can be precise on lower sense, but it requires much more precision in your mouse movement and control, but also a lot of like technique, right? Like rather than trying to do the small flicks, right? Because on a low sense it's gonna be such a small adjustment on your mouse, doing something like trying to match the movement like I'm trying to do in this Lucio without my hand aiming, right? I'm just trying to do like AD to keep my crosshair close, right? So there are techniques and everything that can favor one or the other, but in general the upsides of low sense far outweigh the upsides of high sense. What's my sense on DPI? Exclamation mark sense. It should show up, but if it doesn't, I can just quickly talk about it. Not that the distribution really matters, because like the end result is what matters, right? So I can get to 4K DPI by having a 4 cents and a 1000 DPI, or by having 40 cents and 100 DPI, right? The only thing that this little bit of difference makes is potentially add pixel skip. So in general, having a high DPI and a lower sense in game avoids pixel skip issues. Something that I don't hear being talked about often. I don't know how big of an issue it is, but most people were not gonna run into pixel skip issues unless they run a really low DPI amount, like 400 or 200 or whatever. But it seems like most people in Overwatch use 800 minimum, so it rarely is an issue from what I've seen. What do you mean by blue water and sitting 1v1 arena and backstab? Do you mean for practice? like how to practice mechanics. Is that what you mean? Too small? Yeah. If the space is small, then you have to run like the lowest sense possible for that. Essentially, like the general rule of thumb for sense is that you should run, or at least the one that I use and I like to advise people to use, is that you should use the lowest sense possible that still allows you to do a little bit over a 360 from one side of your mouse pad to the other, right? Because this means that if your mouse is placed in the middle, you have a full 180 to each side, which is all of the range of the adjustments that you might need to do in a game, right? Past that, you just don't need. So, going as low as possible, still doing a 180. In my case, I have more space than I need, so I could actually go even lower than what I'm currently doing. But then I run into the opposite issue, where it's so low that I can't do a 180, right? So yeah. That's why I use 4K rather than something like 3.2K. The best way for you to practice mechanics is deathmatch. Deathmatch type modes against real humans. Vax and stuff can be useful, and it can be used to like practice, right? Especially like isolate variables, like if I want to practice my place shots, right? For example, reading this Widow's movement so that once she moves on top of my crosshair, I shoot, right? That kind of stuff can be useful. But you're gonna want to practice that against real humans too, right? So maybe just get the gist of things here and leave the real practice to the deathmatch mode, right? Against actual human players. So that would be my suggestion. Tryhard FFA or Aim Arena are some modes that you can use in the custom games. If those aren't available, just use normal deathmatch or even in queue deathmatch. But yeah, a mode like this is very good, just like physically warm up your body, your hands and everything, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm just talking, right? I'm not practicing anything specific, and even if I was, there's a limit to how much I can practice against bots. So I'm just like moving around. I'm just seeing enemy players on my screen, and I'm just dashing to them and just letting most of my brain just think about the answers and stuff, while my body just acts based on what it's seeing, right? So pretty mindless warming up that I'm doing right now. Best stadium build? I have no idea. I've been talking with someone that has been doing a lot of experimentation, and in general, like the consensus that we have is that survivability, and one of the earlier versions that we were testing was like melee Genji build, because that gave you a lot of burst, a lot of survivability from the melee items that gave melee lifesteal and stuff, are the best for Genji. Because survivability is also damage, right? And when you have like good amount of survivability and a little bit of also damage on top of that, then you're gonna be dealing much more damage than if you were a glass cannon. So that's the general consensus, but balance in Stadium is weird because it's brand new, it's complicated, so up for a lot of changes. I haven't seen much Genji changes, but I've seen most of the other characters receive changes in the patch notes. So like talking about specific Stadium balance is a little bit weird right now. Because so much stuff is up to change, right? So Genji did get some changes. Genji got like a power removed temporarily. I don't know if it's back already or not. Genji got like the bugged Yaido strike, I believe is the name, stored attack removed, right? So there are some changes. And obviously the balance around, right? Like how the items behave, the values of the items, and like the power level of other characters also affect it, right? But since it's such a new game mode and everything, balance is volatile, so it's hard for me to be like, yep, I'm gonna say for sure this is the best build, because even if it looks like the best build, there are a lot of times when if we have a balanced state sit for like 2, 3, 4 months, let's say, people are gonna keep constantly evolving the meta, right? We can even see that in chess, right? How old is chess? I don't actually know how old chess is, but like, chess is an unchanged game that has existed for a ridiculously long amount of time, and yet despite no changes, the meta changes, right? From people's understanding of the game purely. So a best build is very hard to like people claiming a best builds so early are most likely either off slightly or by a lot, right? People can be fairly accurate fairly quickly, but usually not 100%. Especially because we tend to dismiss things because of like biases that unconscious biases, right? So yeah. Let's see what else. Prefer decision to upload? Yeah. I started off as high since I don't remember exactly why, if it was because I was copying other Genji players or because my mouse space was low. I believe it was because the mouse space was low more than anything, and then over time I started lowering it. I don't remember what caused me to start lowering it, but I did. And I much prefer it now. And I don't feel like I sacrifice speed or anything. I can do everything I want. Let me see. Okay, so now that more people have joined and I'm decently warmed up, let's do what I wanted to do on this stream. Let me just drink a little bit of water first before I explain the idea.
Be wary.
I'm not gonna play calm because one, I have not set up an anti-stream snipe overlay or something like that, which I would like to set up if I'm gonna play on stream because I don't want to get Genji banned. Not that I'm a Genji one trick. I can play other characters, although right now the rank that I currently am at, this account is GM4. My alt is GM3 right now, which is around top 40 at this moment of the season. So like, I wouldn't say that I'm like this caliber on a lot of characters, and probably I'm currently only at this caliber on Genji, right? I can flex to a lot of different characters, to a masters, to low GM level, but I don't currently feel very comfortable with that. So, and also I just want to play Genji. The main reason why I basically only play Genji is not because I can't play other characters, more so because I just enjoy Genji much more than others, right? So I don't want to get sniped. In fact, I've been using streamer mode to avoid getting sniped, and from what I've seen, streamer mode has actually prevented a bunch of sniping. Ever since I added the streamer mode on and stopped showing Genji as preferred whenever the lobby loads, I've never gotten Genji banned again. And before that I got Genji banned like 3 or 4 times in like 30 or so games, I believe. And this is because people go to the streams of like high level players and they see who they're teamed up with, right? So maybe I'm not streaming myself, but people will see me through someone else's stream and target ban me because of it, right? So by using streamer mode, you can protect yourself from that. By not showing preferred hero, you can protect yourself from that. I've even seen a trend in high level play where most people don't actually show their preferred heroes anymore to avoid this specific stream sniping issue through other people's streams, which is like really annoying. And exactly the point that like Blizzard wanted to prevent by not showing the players, but people just find a way in their frames, so it doesn't make them better, it just annoys everyone and just artificially inflates the ranks of people that like target ban OTPs and stuff like that temporarily. It doesn't actually do anything. People that think that if they target ban characters that they don't want, let's say Mora 1 tricks in GM, that those players are gonna D-rank, yeah, that's not gonna happen. That simply isn't. They may lose that game, but then they're gonna climb the next, that's gonna be slightly easier, and stuff just balances out over a large enough sample size, unless target banning is happening literally every game, or over a large enough percentage of the games, like 50+% or something. So, regardless, this whole thing is annoying, but there are ways to work around it. I wish that in high rank play, streamers, oh yeah, I'm going off topic. I was gonna talk about the premise of the stream, right? But let me just finish this quickly. I wish that in high rank play, people just actually fully hit the lobby, right? Either by using streamer modes, the specific option that hides everyone's names, or just completely like covering the screen during the ban phase, so the enemy team doesn't even know the map that they're on. They can't even confirm if they are in that lobby to target ban specific people, if they could even see the people that are in the lobby, which they wouldn't, right, if just fully cover the screen. So that would be a solution, although it's a little bit of a solution that's necessary only because people are being cringe, right? But yeah, I want to play Genji, so I don't want to get stream back and everything. So I'm not going to be playing right now. I don't have stuff set up for that yet. Only for not getting target banned through other people's streams, right? So I'm going to do, instead, I'm just going to practice in quick play. And because of that, I wanted to get y'all's input on what you want me to focus on, right? Because there are a bunch of topics like timing, positioning, cooldown usage, ultimate, right, etc. that people have trouble with, depending on like what exactly they have practiced. And I wanted to just be like, you know what, rather than me not having an idea of what to narrate, so I just narrate everything, and it's kind of like harder for our viewers to pick up specific things for them to implement into their own gameplay, why don't I have the viewers present me one specific topic that they want to learn about, and then I focus on that topic during the match. This makes it easier for me to narrate, because I have to narrate less stuff, so it's less taxing on my voice, and it also gives better educational value for the matches, right? It's essentially the same approach that I do with videos, of like focusing on one specific topic, one or two, and just applying it to streams as well, which is where I'm usually lost on how to handle the educational stuff, and then end up overdoing it and speaking too much. Timing my engagements. Anyone else? Let's see, am I overlook correct? Yeah. Because I can cover a lot of things. I don't even need to cover the same thing every match, right? I can cover one thing every match, and that also works. Another thing that I was thinking about is doing a little bit of Freya practice. I've been trying to get good at Freya because I really enjoy her, and I think that her gameplay loop is very enjoyable and potentially useful to have in terms of like flexing. I don't know how true that will be, but like right now my current understanding of the character is that you should aggressively off angle. You are not a soldier and you don't stand main and spam a little bit and then go to an off angle when you have like Rayo. You just need to constantly off angle with this character. And like sure, I've seen that like some very good aim players can just like stay main, for example, and just hit shots. I don't know how viable that is. I think that this character, even if like they hit their shots, I wonder if it's even good, because Freya seems to not have as much like frontline spam even when hitting all the shots as other characters like, let's say, Ashe have, right? Maybe you could argue that this character has more of a threat because of like the constant, oh, I can 2-tap you now and I can 2-tap you again in just like a few seconds, and I can try to 2-tap again, right? Which not a lot of characters have, right? Like Sojin is a character that like shoots and then has the one-shot threat and then has to charge it up again, and it's like slow, whereas Freya is constant. But I also feel like since Freya doesn't really compare to a character like Ashe in terms of like that spam, I feel like she has to use her extra mobility to just constantly find a good angle to actually get those 2 shots off, right? So that's what I've been testing in quick play and trying to get good at. How that'll do in terms of providing me gameplay flexibility, playstyle flexibility for ranked, I don't know. I don't even know how much I even want the flexibility, because as a Genji player, I can play into most things and most maps, right? Genji is a very flexible character, but it's always good to have a few more tools in your arsenal, right? Like right now, the 3 characters that I've been thinking about alternating is like Genji, Freya, Pharah maybe, but that'll be, I'll figure that out over time. Yeah, let me queue quick play then. Stop my yapping. Right. So anyone else wants to suggest stuff? And also, do you have more details for the specifics of the timing engagements? Or do you not know how you could describe it further, right? Like maybe you know that you're having a timing issue, but you don't know in which circumstances, for example, you have it, right? Alright, you found a game pretty quickly.
Traveling to Numba. Prepare your defenses.
Timing engagements, huh?
Select your hero.
One thing that I should mention is that while this is quick play, yes, my quick play matchmaking is like very high level. One thing I've noticed is that oftentimes I play against the same people over and over, and this only really happens at the skill levels that are very few players in, right? Which is like either at the very bottom or at the very top. In this case, it's the very top, right? So I recognize some names in quick play from comp that are GM players just like me. I also play against those people very frequently, so I know that my matchmaking quality is very high level, right? It's not like I'm gonna be smurfing in quick play or something like that. Although the comps might be weird, like people just playing Mercy more.
5, 4.
One thing that I'm wondering about in terms of like talking about timing engagements, is it more so like when like committing the dash and stuff like that? Because for example, I am, let's say, engaged in combat right now from the poking, but it's like a little bit of a different one, right? And I'm assuming that's not what you're referring to. Yeah, let me focus on the map for now. I think I need to mark this tracer maybe. No. Actually, yes. I need to mark this tracer. Need to stop her from using the side. Because my team has that side covered. It's very hard for them to walk through the choke, so as long as I mark the side, things are not gonna go badly. So I can just soft mark the tracer. Now that the Moira is dead, I'm gonna have to think more about like actually making a play. So I'm gonna look for my Winston and go on his targets. Also the target that's close to me and is a squishy. I might be dead here. Yeah, I'm dead. Unfortunate. But yeah, the idea there is early in the fight I'm poking, and in this case marking the tracer. When the situation calls for action, like when Moira dies or the enemy team is in good position to make a play, I transition into looking for an engagement, right? Like, so I go for what's close to me, right? What I'm set up to hit. In that case it was the Echo that was close to my Winston, and if my team is there I can follow up on them, right? So right now it's early in the fight, so I'm just gonna be doing some poking to try to stop them from taking space. Maybe mark the tracer on the side or something.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Winston.
Yeah, I thought that she was looking for a pulse on me. Now the enemy team looks like they're closer to making a play, but not quite. Winston is not diving my backline, for example. I might primal this though, yeah. So a fight's breaking out. I'm the target, unfortunately, so... Oh, that... I was gonna say, since I'm the target there, I'm not gonna be able to actually go make a play on the squishes like I wanted. And that's because I ended up being targeted.
I continue on this path.
Yeah, I need my Winston to live here. Okay, now I have to wait. I have Blade soon. They have not pushed point too much, so it's fine. I'm gonna clear Tracer from top first. Thought about blading that. What happened to my dash? Oh. A little bit awkward. Let's just try to not lose this fight. Okay. Now I can... The attention is main, so I can look to make a play on the side, but they're too far, so I'm just gonna post here. And now I'm just waiting. I believe my team is dealing with the flank, so I should not engage. This is very important. Should not really engage here because my team is back, so everyone on the enemy team could turn at me. Now I can look for whatever is close. Unfortunately, everything just flies a million meters away. So it's harder for me to actually make a play on this. It's a hard comp for me to play into.
Adaptive circuits engaged. Genji.
Just gonna force her cooldown, maybe. Get healed by Cole. Ah. She's low. We can potentially win this still. Gonna be harder for me to execute mechanically when I'm so focused on narrating, but that's what I signed up for. Gonna soft engage this, for some cooldowns. Nice. Chill for now. Wanna go on the back now. Nice. She has no copy, so I wanna go on her. Chill for now because I don't have dash. Rotate, my team has aggro, so I can go. I can engage her. My team is distracting, so you can see like there's no attention on me. They weren't high on resources too, so it made it harder for them to not only go on me, but also made it more likely that I could actually get the kill on the Cure, for example. And you can see like I'm being careful here because the enemy team wasn't quite committed yet. Once the Winston jumps, right, I was late here. I had an opportunity to engage there and I didn't. Next time that Winston jumps, I can go in. Winston jumps, they're trying to take space. I can go. What happened? Why did I not kill? Ah, I couldn't juke him. But yeah, since I didn't want the attention on me, especially because Winston Treasure Echo is an annoying comp to play into as Genji, I want the attention to be on my team. And especially because Hog is really good at absorbing that attention. I wanted to just chill on the angle, maybe poke a little, but make sure that I can't get pushed. And then once the enemy team commits, like the Winston jumps in and they're paying attention to my team, then I go and make my play on whatever I can. No specific target in mind, just mainly proximity. And now I'm a little bit on like standby. He's getting healed by the bubble. That's what threw me off. Arguably my positioning there wasn't great though. One, I should have ran away earlier once I saw them aggroing me. But two, I wasn't close, which is the problem. But against this comp, it's a little bit harder to be close. A lot of the times, it's just gonna have to be a well-timed dash engagement. Not just a well-timed peek and shoot, right? Like in this case, where I can just... Okay, I'm timing this properly since I have cover. Now, wait for my team. Oops, I was gonna go for the Mercy after regarding it. You can see, even here, right? Like, because I engaged at the right time, there's no aggro on me. I'm just gonna chill here. Oops. I have to live with meditation for a bit. Ah. I'm gonna do another match for this topic because I feel like this was a little bit hard. It's a hard comp for us to play into. Also not an easy comp. Like if I have a Brig, it's much easier. A lot of these engagements seemed very committed because of the dash. So if I didn't time it properly, I would have just perma died. Right? So a little bit complicated, but it does show the concept, right? Like the timing. It just there's just less positive feedback from it because of the circumstances, right? The enemy team having a better comp than us, me not being able to execute mechanically as much because I'm focusing on the narration and everything, right? Yeah, let me catch up the chat a little bit. What's this type of tank change your gameplay? It depends. I wouldn't say tank as much as like the comp, right? Comp, map, everything does play a part in just like understanding how the specific matchups and especially the circumstances, right? Because like ult economy can change things too, right? Like, do you want to go first? Do you want to just absorb their aggro, right? Or do you want to kite their ultimates and then go back in, right? There are a lot of different ideas. But one quick example I can give is like with Mauga, Genji will take shorter flanks than maybe again with other comps, because he wants to play around that cardiac overdrive, because brawl comps in general care less about angles and more about just like rotating as a unit, which makes it easier for you to push and pull, because brawl is mainly the push and pull, less about like the angle control, although angle control is still relevant even with brawl, right? And you can even see that in like one of the most recent analysis that Spilo did, showcasing that like the Mauga brawl comp was setting up and playing for space and fighting for space, kind of like dive. Yeah. Let me read a little bit more. Last time to hard commits, soft commits. Hard committing is a lot about like knowing the quality of your setup, whereas soft commit is much more about like, I want to go in and force a reaction, right? Like very early in the fight, just dashing in, deflecting out, like a very basic cycle just to force a resource or two, like a Suzu for example. You saw that a few times on this match where I dash aggressively on a Kiriko because I'm doing so and getting behind cover and doing so at a good time when the enemy team can't really look back to me. It is kind of like a soft engage, where I'm looking to force resource from the Kiriko more so than I'm looking for the kill, because she has the cooldown, so it's unlikely that I will get the kill, right? And then once those resources are exhausted, then I can get the kill, right? So hard versus soft commit it's very much about like, how likely am I to get a kill and what exactly is the objective of the play, right? Am I looking to force resources to create a vulnerability for later, or do I already have a good enough setup and I just need to capitalize, right? At which point it makes more sense for you to expose yourself to a little bit more danger, right? A little bit more fire from the enemy team, let's say. If that means that you stay closer to the target that you're chasing that's vulnerable, so that you get the kill and you get to dash out, right? Or something like that. Best settings for FPS? Yeah, I don't remember. I know that I looked up a guide on that, so you should probably look at that. Might even have like, maybe my stuff is also outdated since Overwatch 2, because there's a lot of like changes in the engine and how the devs have specifically optimized the game, so maybe my settings are old and not optimal anymore. Second it dropped. That has no relation in training. No relation at all. Wouldn't always look for a play. It depends on the kind of play that you're looking for, is the thing. Because if you... Essentially, here's a little bit of a balance on timing. And I mentioned this a little bit on my 2025 guide, but it's just like, if you go in too early, the enemy team all turns around, either clears you out or kills you, but regardless, it takes you out of the equation. And then they can turn around and then take a 5v4, right? If it's too late, they take a 5v4 while you're setting up or something like that, and then that's bad, right? If you're at the correct time, once they're engaged and everything, now you're doing something, right? So first there's this, right? And then there's like, what play exactly are you making? Because for example, while going early has those downsides that I talked about, if you trade equally or even positively in terms of cooldowns, that's good, right? But you need to make sure that it's a positive trade. Someone like Tracer that's highly self-sufficient can live on the enemy backline, can make those earlier plays and probably not get punished for it, although even Tracer has her limitations, right? Genji has much less of that, right? A lot more dependent on like the specific map for like how hard he can flank. Specifically, even like health packs that he can play around, as well as the geometry. So on that example, on Numbani with a rather linear map, some relatively longer sightlines, and the lack of a brig or something like that that could easily pocket me from range, I had to be like very careful and never engage early, because if I engaged early, Tracer chases and kills me, Echo chases and kills me, Winston chases and kills me, right? We even saw that at the start of second point when the Winston jumped me, I dashed out, and then he used Primal to chase and kill me, right? So depending on the specifics of the situation, you might want to make a play earlier or later, right? It depends on a lot of things. But like the idea behind timing itself is simple, right? It's just time your engagement properly, right? Like the word timing is very self-explanatory. The complications of timing are less so because timing itself is a hard concept, and more so how timing relates to all of these other ideas, right? And how well you understand those ideas, right? So against that Winston Tracer Echo comp, I needed to be very careful to make sure that once I engaged, I was not in a position to get chased by them, right? Which often meant waiting for them to jump in my team and have them take the focus so that I could be free to actually make a play and not get chased, right? In this case with Orion, I'm gonna be much more free to be aggressive and not get chased. They have a Tracer, but they have a BAP, less mobility, Cass, less mobility. And in this case, you can see how I can just make this play because is he gonna chase me? He can't, right? I have good architecture to play around. So I can just move around the map as I wish and just take engagements as I wish, right? Just very, very simple engagement there in the cast. And was also relatively well timed. My front line was clashing with theirs, so the supports had to make a choice. Do we support the caster? Do we support the front line, right? There's also that. I can also just do this because one, the Rhine is overextended, but also two, I can deflect out, there's nobody to punish me. So I can just take that early cooldown trade, early resource trade. If it goes well, we can even get the kill, but the main objective is to just trade positively resource-wise. And here we're just capping. Alrighty. Much love. I was just thinking, like, I believe you're... I don't remember where you're from, if you're like from Australia or what, and like what the differences are in time zones. But I remember thinking about like, what times would I even be able to stream that you could also watch? I think that this match is just a wash. Oh, 2:40 AM, yeah, that's what I mean. Like this is the time that I would never be awake in, so it's just like. It's not something that I would plan for like for people to watch, because certain time zones, like time zones that offer like a full 12-hour difference from mine, are just like they're basically only like 1 or 2 hours that I would plan around. If that makes sense.
Let the Kitsune guide you.
I think we're just gonna win here. Okay. Yeah, I was a little bit lost because overwhelmed by like the game and also talking and everything, but since I usually always want to have like a good sleep schedule, right? And I don't have something like night work or anything like that. It's always like wake up at 9 AM, sleep at around midnight, right? So
Prepare for battle. Select your
if people are on specific time zone, it's hard for me to plan around like normal times, right? If someone is like in this case like awake at a time that people normally consider people to be asleep, then yes, it's possible, but yeah. Yeah, this is why why it was a little bit weird, because it was like, wait, usually you wouldn't be able to watch me, but in this case, since now you work at night, then yeah, it does make sense.
Compared to the ice caps back home.
The eye will not fail. The hand will not
So it's
flinch.
really hot in this room.
Greetings. You mean a chicken fried this rice?
Hey there.
Sit
5,
down.
4, 3,
Yeah.
1.
But yeah, like for example, Keegan we played with in Mombani, Juven, also I believe another GM player, so like the quality of these matches is high. Although maybe the seriousness of them is gonna be a little bit different. So, for example, against Ball, not gonna be interacting much with Ball. Ball is probably flanking our backline. So I'm much more free. Ball also oftentimes, I mean, Ball can chase me, but it's less so like a Winston that I have to worry about, so I'm much less worried about like that kind of stuff like I was in Mombani. So as long as I play around my cover and everything, you can kind of like engage whenever, right? When do I get my specific cooldown cycles? Yeah, right now, since they're so far back, there isn't even a reason for me to make anything big. I'm just like trying to gatekeep them from pushing past these chokes. And if they do and they start becoming dangerous, then I look to engage, right? Like I can hear the ball engaging behind me, so I'm like paying a lot of attention to not allow the jump to walk, and if he walks, try to punish him. Oops, I'm down. Now things are happening and they're bad, like you can see that the junk has space, for example, and I don't want that. We are also down 1, so I'm more incentivized to make a big play. Especially take risk, right? In this case I just barely screwed up, took a little bit too much poke, executed mechanically badly, right? Didn't get quite as many headshots as I should have, didn't deflect in time, but the point is not the mechanics, right? The point in here is that I'm trying to focus on the timing, and the timing was good, right? And you can understand the intentions, right? Or hopefully you can understand the intentions of why I played the way that I did at the specific times in the fight, right? So like the more that I'm talking about timing, the more I'm noticing that I'm just talking about different stages of the fight, and when you transition between one to another, right? It's less so about the timing itself, right? And more so about like having a good understanding of the fight and how it's how the stages change, right? You can see like the whole nano ball engaging our backline, so I distract the soldier on the side. I just have to chill. I don't know who healed me. I'm pretty sure I got healed.
The objective is in my hands.
But yeah, for example, like I can make the engagement because I have my deflect out, but because it was missed times, they almost killed me still, right? And I might also still almost die. Now that the ball is in, it's a little bit better for me to make a play, but again, because of the Kitsune in this case, it's kind of hard for me to make a play on them. And because they're so far back, there's less of a reason, because they're not very active on the fight. So I can even just turn and shoot this ball. I don't know if I can push further. I don't need to. Because they're so far back, right? How much Genji can get away with? Yeah. That's one of the main strengths of Genji, right?
0.
But it's interesting, right? A lot of people think about Genji just like his burst and everything. But one of the main strengths that Genji has is just how good he is at just like taking and holding space, right? And that's one of the things that like flex DPS in general do. Although Tracer isn't a flex DPS. I don't know what exactly the definitions would be. Tracer is certainly not a hit scan. I guess a Tracer, despite having a hit scan gun, would be considered a flex DPS, but like that's kind of why your comps really do want to have like a long range and a close range character, because the close range characters are much better like taking and controlling space. You can see in this case, like I'm just gonna go clear the ball. Yes, it's a tank, but I can very well take this fight because I have the mobility and everything to get out, and because the rest of the enemy team is so far back, like Zen, Ana, they have no speed. I can do that early. Now, arguably, I overstayed my welcome on the backline shooting that guy, right?
The objective is now
I should have turned for the backline early instead of chasing ball as much as I did.
They must not take the objective.
Should not die here. Not yet, at least.
I am taking the point.
Oh, this is silly. I'm gonna die.
Enemy marked.
Surely. Yeah, they die. Yeah, I just got mixed up with like thinking about like what the weapon does. Because like Hanzo, for example, is a projectile, which a lot of flex DPS are, but Hanzo is considered to be a hit scan. Also, I think that this guy is mad with me. I think that I got that guy mad. Yeah, this guy is most certainly mad with me. Once I get meditation, this type of stuff is gonna be less of a thing to worry about. Ooh. Wait, I think she hit the headshot on the bolt, right? Otherwise I don't die. Yeah. I was wondering why I got one shot by that, but with the headshot it makes sense. Otherwise I should live on like one from the mana. Ball is, I believe, here. Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, first, now that we're trying to claim space, clear the ball, and then once my team is ready to take the fight, I transition into actually setting myself up and hitting backline and everything. Kill! Nice. Wait, I didn't get an assist for that nade? What? Don't kill me. No, this guy should die soon. And in this case you can see like me holding the dash so that I can keep this position. And now I'm gonna look to transition into backline. Yeah. Oops. That was terrible mechanics. I need to turn this off. It was too hot, now it's too cold in the room.
My duty calls.
You mean a chicken fried this rice?
I mean, if you mean like chasing and killing the ball shouldn't die. The ball should just distract us and everything, but because the ball was early, we could force ball out, then turn it to team, take a 5v4 while ball goes out, right? This case I just need to make a play here, but we just... Let me get out. Not paying enough attention to the game, am I? Once again, the specific timing, right? Because the enemy team is distracted with my team, I have like a free 1v1 of the Zen, right? There's no one else looking there. And now there isn't much pushback from the enemy team here. I could even potentially dash there, though I don't find the need to take that risk, so I'm not. My Tracer might be dead. Yeah, since the backline is far, once again, shooting ball, shooting ball, shooting ball. Just waiting. Now that the backline is getting closer, I can actually look for them. The orbital faded, unfortunately. I'm dead. But yeah. I think this might be the last game that I talk about timing specifically.
Round 2.
I continue
But
on this path.
I do have a video in the works that goes into timing.
Score.
And is gonna provide better examples. It's a little bit harder to do this live, but I still think that there is good value in doing this live. Any tips for hard stuck diamond Genji? I cannot give general advice based on that. You have to give me specific questions like what to do against this comp, or I'm struggling
I still have much to learn.
to time my plays, or how to position or stuff like that, right? Because there are people that are in diamond for many different reasons, like mechanics, positioning, timing, game sense, etc. Right? So it's just like it doesn't give me much information, right?
Capture the objective.
The only real advice that I can give to such a broad question is watch the content that I produce. Because I just produce a lot of Genji educational content, right? But I can give more specific advice with more specific questions. Backline is far, so I'm still just chilling in a good position. And I'm trying not to get forced out. In this case, I'm just gonna do this because I'm gonna trade evenly in cooldowns with the Moria, but otherwise I don't want to get my setup forced because the enemy backline was not relevant, so I didn't need to make a play. If the ball was going in, then I could contest the backline at the same time to prevent my team from dying to the ball and the DPS follow-up, right? So in here, still there is no real reason to actually engage this. Not only am I not full, but I don't need to take the risk. It's not well timed, my team is not pushing, right? There is no good reason for me to distract yet. I need to be on standby to distract at a good moment. Now this Ash overextends, so now I go. Ball is in. I don't have deflect though, so I can't quite make a play in the backline. But if I had, I would engage at that moment because ball engaged and I don't want ball to get follow-up from the team. Does that make sense? I'm trying to not over-analyze, but still give enough information. Right, and also because I have already been talking about this for a while, I think that I can make these explanations shorter and have them make sense. Like, here I'm just chilling, and if they screw up, they die, but like, I'm not really looking for kills here unless they screw up. Like, I'm just chilling here. And in this case, ball is engaged too early, we just screw up. Soldier should never die to that solo dive. But assuming the team was here, I would engage the team. And you can see, like, I'm waiting. Enemy backline gets close, and I'm engaging the enemy backline immediately. I should live this barely. Just quite... Not quite, but like... Even then, like, I distracted at a good time, which is when the ball was engaged and the backline wanted to engage, so I distracted the full backline, got good damage, allowed my team to have breathing room to deal with the ball and potentially avenge me. Whereas if engaged before that, the enemy backline would have been free when the ball was engaging and stuff. Just chilling because I have no cooldowns, but I want to be in a good position so that I can engage soon because there's a nano ball. If a play is gonna be made, it needs to be now, essentially. Not the most comfortable blade ever, but if I was gonna make a play, right? There was a nano ball, my Hogga's antied, 1 HP, we got Suzu forced, then backline was gonna walk. So if I didn't make a play soon, our team would collapse. So I needed to blade, and I needed to blade now if I wanted a chance, right? Here I'm just aggressively holding space because they are unlikely to get a touch, and if I slow down the backline, then my team has an easier time dealing with the ball that's alone, right?
Play of the game.
I'm trying to think if you're having an issue not not being able to hear. Let me actually stop Q because I need to catch up with chat and stuff. Why am I playing such high ping? Because I live in Brazil. There are not enough high ranked players in Brazil, so I need to stop service. But yeah, to like conclude the whole timing thing, timing is based on other concepts. It's less so about timing itself being complicated, more so about you understanding the other concepts and how timing plays a part in that, right? And brawl comms, yeah, it does. Different comms, and in this case, I can even give an example based on another comment on here in the stream, which is about like, how do I play with a Doom, for example? Well, the Doom is not gonna have a lot of frontline presence, so it's gonna be a little bit different from other tanks. Like, if you think about like a Winston engaging, it's very clear when the engagement is happening, right? Like big boom and impacts, right? But how does, let's say, a Hog engage, right? Less clear, but it's more so about like taking action, like peeking out so that you can be shot, looking for an aggressive play, like looking for an angle for a hook, right? Dictating when the attention is gonna be held, right? So playing with a Doom, for example, Doom is gonna be a lot about just like chilling and setting up just like you do on Genji. Like a lot of the setups that I had on that match would be similar, if not the same as Doom setups, because Doom has a similar effective range, right? And also does not have good poke, so he doesn't really want to be standing there open training poke. He wants to just be like chilling and just like pop in, punch out, right? Repeats, right? So managing to close the gap, maybe do something like this, boom, 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 out, right? So if you're struggling playing with a Doom, for example, it might be that you are just like missing that front line, the existence of that front line, right? And so it's harder for you to tell when you should be doing things. So for example, if I have, maybe Hazard not the best example, but if I have someone that's more in your face like Ryan, especially if like, even if the Ryan is not taking action in the form of hammering, right? Just like shielding, like it's very clear, or it's easier to see when the fight's in its early stages, like poking and stuff, and when the fight's truly breaking out and the enemy team is committing, right? So with a Doomfist, it's more so gonna be about you being able to maintain your setup, just like I was showcasing on that last round, like why I was just chilling behind corners so often, just waiting, because the enemy backline was not quite yet in position for me to make a play. I couldn't set up further in because I wouldn't have an escape path, right? The enemy team could all turn, clear me, kill me, and then turn at my team. So I was just chilling at my most forward position that wouldn't get me forced out, and once the ball went in, right, then I looked to distract the enemy backline, right, not even necessarily get a kill, but if possible I can get the kill, and then that distraction is gonna be timed properly so the ball doesn't get follow-up, right? So if the Doomfist is gonna be a lot about that, not allowing yourself to get forced out early, right? Just like being a little rat and just like chilling in these positions and just like, okay, now the backline is walking, now is the correct moment to engage, boom, engage at that moment, right?
Precision is the way of the effective.
A lot about it is also just about like your support comp. So for example, if you have something like Zen Brig, right? Zen Brig is a pretty greedy, it was seen more in Overwatch 1, but like it's still like an okay comp in Overwatch 2. Really comp because where the Brig enables Zen by keeping him alive, right? And then Zen can output a lot of offensive pressure, but it has lower healing output. Whereas something, let's say like Ana Brig, has much more healing output, and it allows you to be much more active in the fight. Like for example, in this match, since I had a Keurig, I could potentially be a little bit more active and poke a little bit more early in the fights and not get my setups forced before the moment that I wanted to engage, right? Like that's one of the big things. If I wanted to contest the enemy backline at the correct moment, I needed to not get forced out before. There was even a time where I mentioned I can't go in even if it's the correct time because I don't have deflect, because I would be able to go in with dash but not go out, right, with deflect. So if I have the healing, I can take the poke and maintain my setup because I'm gonna get healed, so I'm gonna be in shape to engage. But in this case, because I had a hog, a lot of our healing resources from these two characters were turned for the hog, right? Especially like Kiriko paying a lot of attention to be able to Suzu the anti-nade from the Ana, right? So I had less resources to work with, so I had to be a little bit more cautious and make sure that I was getting the highest value play in and foregoing any of my my poke to make sure that I had my setups. And when the moment that like the Moira decided to try to clear me on the angle, I could at least trade evenly with her. So yes, I lost my setup, but she also lost hers. But yeah, hopefully that makes good sense. It's hard to talk about like with such ample questions still. Like yes, the Doomfist example helps a little bit, but like there's still a lot of different scenarios where the Doomfist might decide to be more or less active, right? Or even just like the whole going first or going second thing, right? Which depends on like, do you want your opponents to set up or not, right? Like in a way, right? Like during that this match, right? This last match that I just played on Antarctica. Yes, I was letting the ball go first, but I was going first on the backline, right? And that's important to distinguish, right? I wanted to time my engagement so that I disconnected the team, right? The ball went in and got no support. So I was letting the ball go first because I needed ball to commit so that ball couldn't chase me. Because if ball doesn't engage on my team and I commit, ball has the mobility to chase me. But if ball uses mobility in, then ball doesn't have the mobility to chase, right? So in that situation, I was waiting for ball to go first so that I wouldn't be the targets and I wouldn't, and ball couldn't turn and punish me. But I was going first on the backline because I was not letting the backline rotate to relevant positions to follow up on the ball, right? So if I waited and just let the Ashe and the Ana and everyone free shoot, my hog would be dead 10 times over in that match. But because ball engaged, I was always distracting the backline when that happened, my hog could simply just overpower the ball very easily because ball got no follow-up. It was a very easy comp for me to deal with for the most part because it was very vulnerable. Ana, Zen, Hanzo, Freya, a lot of squishy characters, right? They didn't have something like a Brig that really stabilized the core and made those engagements riskier for me. So I could very easily just dash in, be flag out, right? And just get ridiculous amounts of value like that. And I was essentially a mini tank that way, right? I mean, you can ask questions now. That's the whole point of like the stream, just like being able to interact live and even just like showcase things live. The timing video will provide more examples. It will be more, it will also be more precise on the specific comments that I'm going to be giving, but I have essentially talked everything that I'm going to be talking in the timing video here. It's just less concise, right? Yeah. Okay, there we go. So Oliver, a little bit late, but just in the nature of things here. There's only so much that you can do. Like for example, this match and the match on Numbani, that was the first match that I played. I've had very much the similar approach, right? With waiting for the enemy team the mobile characters to engage so that they couldn't go on me, and then once that happens, I distract the backline, right? But on that one, my team was a little bit worse. I also played a little bit worse myself, so we lost, right? So you doing the correct thing doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna win, right? So it's very important for you to be able to distinguish between you doing the correct thing versus thinking that you're doing the correct thing because it worked out or it didn't work out, right? The feedback doesn't matter. What you need is the objective metrics of what are the correct things and base it on that. If my setup was good and the timing was good and we lost, it was good. If my timing was bad, my setup was bad and we won, that was bad, right? Regardless of the outcome. So sometimes you're going to be doing the correct thing, right? The enemy tank goes in, you distract the backline and your team dies because your team sucks or the enemy team just played better than yours, right? And sometimes you're gonna do this, and it's also gonna it's just gonna work and you're not even gonna remember about those, right? So you might be overthinking this a little, right? And this worry of yours might be simpler than you think to answer, right? There's no like fancy thing that I can say, oh, you know, you're doing this, you should never lose in those situations. Like, there are a lot of factors outside of your control. So like, as long as you yourself are improving and doing the correct things, then sure, you're gonna lose a few, but you're gonna be winning much more than you're gonna be losing, right? And that's the important thing. On comp no matter what. Yeah, that's the main thing about the that's the main thing about the one-shot combo, right? Like, for example, here I can very easily do the one-shot combo because I know the distance here, right? Like, I know the distance here, so I get basically around the tracer, boom, that's a one-shot, right? But in a game, people are not gonna be standing still. Also, can you actually dash in? Remember how often on my previous match I was just standing around waiting, right? Because I couldn't engage yet, it was not the correct time, right? And I also didn't want to just poke and everything, but in this case, you don't even need to think about poke, since we're thinking about one shot and involves dash, so it's gonna be very specific moments on the match, right? So it's like, it's not just mechanical execution, it's also timing it properly, it's also having, let's say, a surprise factor or a vulnerability, right? In this case, these bots are standing still, so they're vulnerable. If a Widow is scoping in, right, let's say that you have a Widow here, right, and you're coming in from the side and she's scoped in, then you can much more easily line up a one-shot, right, whichever version you want. So, people overthink mechanics on Genji and stuff, and think that's just like, oh, if they can't land the one-shots it's because they suck, when a lot of it is just the situation is bad, plain and simple. You just need to do something else. It's not mechanics that are causing you to miss the mechanical one-shots. It's the timing. or some other factor like that, right? It's the angle.
I burn with purpose.
So it's interesting to think about that. Alrighty. So chat, I want to do more of this, but I have already talked a bunch. Despite only focusing on timing, because timing is so taxing, because I had to explain so many things, right? The different stages of the fight, like the poking and then the when I want to set up and when I want to engage, and also how different comps play into it, right? Like versus some comps like the more immobile brawl comp that we played on Hanaoka. It was easier for me to just like wrap around and do whatever I wanted, as long as like there was action going on, it was a good time, right? Whereas against the more mobile comps, it's harder for me to time it properly to make sure that I get the value and I don't get punished, right? So since it was very taxing, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna go grab more water because it just ran out, and I'll be right back to talk more. So what I would suggest, give me more topics. Do you want me to focus on positioning? Do you want me to focus on blade usage, right? Just talk about something like this, discuss it in chat, and then I'll be back in like a minute or two. Alrighty. Let me put my headphone on. I need to cut my hair. Too long. Maybe I could cut it today even. Might be too late though for me to think about that. Tomorrow? I don't know if I can cut it tomorrow. Head's still spinning. What up, Nature's Ninja? I don't know why I'm sweating so much. It's not actually that hot. Yo, what up, Wind? Alright, see ya, Melon Boy. A lot of it is just practice, Adrenix. Like, with I already talked earlier about like the upsides and downsides of like each, but like a lot of it is just like if you just swapped from, let's say, high sense to low sense, you're gonna have a little bit of struggle because you don't know how to control the lower sense yet. Not so much about like muscle memory, although there is some of that, right? But it's like muscle memory is something that like it's very quick. People seem to overthink how much, or like if I swapped sense, I would adapt in like less than a week, maybe even a day, right? But so most of like the worries that people have when they swap from one sense to the other are because they, let's say, played high sense their entire life, and when they swap to low sense, because they have to learn how to use a completely different set of muscles, right? They have to learn how to use their mouse to aim rather than their wrist, right? They're gonna suck, and they're gonna suck for a while. They're learning something completely new. But once they learn that skill set, swapping between one low sense to the other is gonna be very fast. The brain adapts very fast, but the learning is gonna be slower. So, yeah, I do stream on two platforms. So it could be that. It could be that you simply need to just play more on low sense until you get used to it, and then you can play around with sense more and find the specific one that you like the most, right? But yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to like experiment, right? That's one of the main things, right? We as human like to catastrophize, think about like worst case scenarios for like changes and stuff like that. We're very against change, so it might be comfortable for you to just like stay on the sense that you're currently using, but it's not actually gonna be that bad for you to just like go in, try a different sense. It's not gonna ruin your muscle memory. You're maybe for a day, but it's gonna be very quick if you just want to go back. And if you don't do it, then you're potentially just holding yourself back because you're never gonna figure out something better, for example. And even if you do end up not using it, like, does it cost you that much? Like now, spending a week, let's say, practicing something that you end up not liking might seem like a waste, but would you ever know that you don't like it without trying? And is that week really that big of a deal? Right? So like a lot of things for me, especially like recently, I made a video on this about like embracing imperfection, right? The latest release that I have. It's just like, if I didn't allow myself to try some things that I didn't know whether or not they would work, I wouldn't know if they're good or not, right? And sure, sometimes they fail, like some of my video ideas flop, but a lot of like my best video ideas have been just from experimentation, things that I previously misjudged. I thought it wouldn't work, and then suddenly, boom, the video has almost 5,000 views, for example, right? Like the most recent video, the anti-dive one, a little bit of a different approach that is faster for me to make and edit and everything. I didn't think was actually gonna perform, but it did. So maybe I'll make more of it, and just because I allowed myself to experiment, right? Feeding playstyle. I mean, there are certain fundamentals that you have to I guess, is abide the word I'm looking for? Like, one of the things is that like, as long as it's properly timed and everything, as long as there's like a good justification for it, then yes, feeding is gonna work as long as it's in the correct time to a certain extent, right? Now, obviously, not feeding, right, engage at the correct time and executing mechanic to the point of you getting the kill and living, or just like you distract but you don't feed, for example, would be better. There are certain things like that we could talk about, but so it's not like fitting would be purely bad, but it's also not like fitting is the desired outcome, right? So, yeah. What up, Kazuhira? Just for me at this point, why are you worried about playtime? Here's the question that you need to ask yourself. Do you enjoy Genji? Yes or no? That's it. That's the question. Don't worry about playtime, don't compare yourself to others. Just ask yourself, do you enjoy Genji? Because that's all that really matters. If you enjoy the character, who cares if you are like Diamond or Masters, or if you reach this rank with certain amount of hours, or that one, like sure, maybe someone got a rank faster than you, but does that really matter? Maybe they had less fun than you. Also, what you're playing games for? Like, what's your goal of the game? Is it your job to perform or something? At which point maybe you do care about like having the most optimized way to like climb and practice, because it's your job and like you need to be good, so making your time more efficient is useful. Or you're just looking to have fun and so you are optimizing fun, right?
Double kill.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna do... I think I'm gonna focus on Blade. I wanna talk less now. And Blade is perfect for that. Because we don't have many Blades in the match. So I'm just gonna focus about Blade on this match. Yeah, so there's your problem. If you want to reach Masters 5, how do you reach Masters 5? Is it worrying about the amount of hours that you have on the character, or is it by looking at something objective, like your gameplay and seeing what are the issues in my gameplay? Am I timing things properly? Am I positioning properly? Like, what is the issue, right? Obsessing over rank is not the way that you actually climb the ranks. It's a very easy mistake to make. The way that you climb ranks is by not caring about ranks. Just allow yourself to play and get good practice. So for example, on like... I can even give an example based on like my last video, because I've mentioned this, but like I've been allowing myself to make plays that I usually would be against, because I have some sort of like preconception about like, I don't know if that's the word I'm looking for in English. I always get this confused if it is like, I don't know, it actually means what I think, or if it even exists in English. But like, if there are certain plays that I would usually not go for because I think that they're not gonna work, for example, but they might work. And I have like some subconscious biases that point me towards some things and make me like certain things less, right? So just giving myself the freedom to experiment, even if it might cost me short-term rank, will make me a better player in the long term, right? So I just allow myself to be a little more creative on my plays and just try things regardless of the outcome, right? That would be an example of like me not caring about rank, and because I don't care about the rank and even potentially lose rank, I actually become a better player and rank up more. It seems ironic, but not caring about rank and allowing yourself to lose rank is one of the best ways that you can actually gain rank. If you want VOD reviews for your own gameplay, just join my Discord. Either me or like anyone of the over 500 people at this point on the server can review your VODs and give you guidance. Self-review. There's a very good video by Spylo. I believe the name is "You're Practicing Wrong." It's a thumbnail with him looking sort of like this, and then there's I believe a blackboard behind him. I don't remember if there's anything else. And probably some like ability icons and stuff on the blackboard, but I believe that's the name and like the thumbnail of the video. And it goes about like how you can practice very well. But like I can give you a TLDR of what is talked about there. Let me actually leave this so I don't distract myself. You wanna focus on a certain topic, right? So you don't necessarily have to self-review to figure out what's the best topic for you to work on. It can be just, I wanna get better at blades, so I'm gonna focus on blades. So then you look at some objective metrics of what are like good blades or bad blades or some principles. And then you try to apply them in game. And then you review that in the matches that you play. And you see what goes wrong and what goes badly. Right? And then you do that trial and error over time to get a better idea of like the concepts, right? What's objectively good, what's objectively bad. And then be able to practice that over time, right? But if you want to self-review and figure out the mistake, that's a little bit harder because that requires you to not be biased, right? I have developed the ability to self-review without having problems because I don't really have an ego. So I'm not gonna not be harsh on myself. I can look at things very objectively. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing. It makes, for example, my social life harder because I have such a logical approach to things, but it gives me the ability to self-review very well, right? I can detach from like emotions very well and just like focus on what's objective, right? But then just like looking at your gameplay, looking at what's happening, like having some concepts, like having some understanding, and mainly just not falling into the trap of also just like looking at the outcome, right? Like if you just look at the outcome, this play didn't work, right? Like I could use the examples again of like the Numbani match I played at the start and this Antarctic match that I played more recently. Both where I was doing essentially the same thing, but one of the matches I won and one of the matches I lost, right? So if I was simply looking at like the outcome, I could think that I was doing the wrong thing on Numbani because I lost, but I was doing the right thing. It was just like maybe the execution wasn't as good as it should have been, or simply didn't get as lucky with like the team that I got or something like that, right? So you need those objective metrics of what is a good time, what is a bad time, and then being able to use those objective ideas to critically analyze the gameplay and then figure out, okay, should I have done something different here? Is this good? Is this bad, right?
Sounds about right.
Pre-flight checklist complete. Running
But yeah, figuring out what the best thing for you to do, for you to practice, is harder to do on yourself unless your own knowledge of the game surpasses your skill level in the game, right? Like a lot of coaches are higher or lower ranked than they could be, or that their game knowledge suggests, because they simply don't have the hours to practice and have the mechanics, right? Against all comps? Not all comps, but basically all comps, yes. Make sure this bottle is closed, yeah. We don't have an accident. Is he climbing here? No, he isn't. He's outside. I'm dead. Oh, nice. No. No pull, so I can't be... I need to be less aggressive now. I can't just int and get pulled out. Might be dead. Oh, I died because of Discord. It was mistimed. That's one of the main problems. Everyone could look at me because the Doom wasn't in. I didn't bother to look at him, right?
My duty calls.
Yeah. Just waiting for Blade and then thinking about that. But this is gonna be a little bit harder because they have Tree, they have Trank, and they're probably gonna just use Trank for the Blade, so it's probably not gonna be much for me to talk about. It's just gonna be I dash up, I Blade, force Trank to get out and live. Yeah, this comp is very abysmal. Hog just stands point and then they win. Because Doom is also not being created to get the backline. My Doom needs to go here. Or we need to kill Doom like that, but they have pull. Now we can maybe kill Hog. Maybe. Because my Doom is distracting. Backline and they have no pull. Yeah, okay. Needed to just focus Hog now. They don't have either support ult, so this is actually bladeable. Oh, nice shots. Yeah. Ooh, no, don't die. Okay, nice. I might actually blade soon, so that I can get these staggers. But like, I didn't actually think about that in the moment, but the way that I handled the blade was perfect since they have pull. I had my proximity on one target and could threaten a kill there, force the pull, and then use my dash to chase or swap targets. And because they didn't have an ultimate to do a fit, then the blade actually got value. Unfortunately, a little bit mistimed and everything, but because the enemy team was already back. But if it was an actual just like only 3 players there, the blade works. Oops, I'm dead. Ban system is amazing. You can just play sniper maps without having to play into snipers. It actually makes a lot of the game much more enjoyable. It gives the players the ability to remove a lot of the cancer out of the game. Yeah, this match is probably gonna be a loss because this comp is just atrocious. If I had an Ann instead of Life Weaver, this would be much better. On his knees.
Rocket barrage incoming. I see an enemy.
Oh, I almost got a kill there. Need to push, need to push. I don't have deflects. I think they C9? No, not that. Okay. That's all support ults. So I need to make sure I live and blade this. It's guaranteed. I might be dead. Oh, nice. Needs to live. Live, bro. Nice. I'm gonna live. Yo, what up, Nautilus?
The advantage is mine.
I think I'm just getting out. It's too early for me to be this far up. Yep. I can maybe hold this space though. So much damage. Okay. I'm actually just gonna take the 1v1 now. If I wanted to live, I needed to dash out and then use deflect out. Yo, what up, Lucci? Let me quickly catch up.
We need to keep the payload moving forward.
これで終わるものか。
Hog is just ignoring the Doom for a kill here. I think this Hog... Actually no, they have full. Hog is never feeding. Need to throw them back in. Yeah, this Doom is trying, but I don't think that this Doom is that good. Not an easy circumstance at all, but I don't think that this Doom is playing the bad circumstance well.
Life protects life.
I'm gonna catch up to chat later. I cannot. I wanna try to win this game. I think they have Trang, so once again I believe I have to wait. Okay. I might blade now for these daggers. Actually no. I'm not going to because the payload is too far back. If it was closer, guaranteeing the staggers with the blade while they don't have Trang to counter me gives us a good chance to cap when they can't retouch or their retouch is bad because they're down some players from the staggers that I got from blade. What is this guy doing? Okay, my life river screwed up, but he couldn't hear me. I have to wait for maybe the last fight. Let's make sure I don't get pushed. Don't have deflect. Now my team is closer, so they can put this far forward, so I can move. Madam is in. Hopefully we can force the cooldowns with this. Don't wanna die. I need a late blade here. Okay, Trank is out finally. I can anchor point if Madam needs. Unfortunate. Just have to play around too many things there, unfortunately. I don't think my team clutches this. I don't get 3 in time. It's a shame. My Doom just inted the entire match into this. Let me take a quick break here. Oh, I'm sorry, Lucci. I have to say one thing. Since I'm multi-streaming and I don't know if you can set up, I assume that you can, but I don't currently have it set up so that you so that I receive the notifications. I did not see your raid, so thank you very much for the very kind raids. Welcome everyone. We're teaching some Genji. Let me catch up with chat here. Hot Reddit mod. I agree with you with like the distraction at the right time, but I don't know if you necessarily need to feed for it. Now, doing so, like not being scared to like lose your life at that moment, means that you can extend the amount of time that you hold attention. So I wouldn't say that necessarily it's bad, and there are some situations where you don't intend to feed, but you know that the play is right and you know that you want to commit, and depending on the outcome you either do feed or don't feed and then carry, right? But I think that having the intention of feeding is bad. Like, as long as the intention is good, right? The intention is not to go in and ends, right? And like, yes, good, right? So I wouldn't necessarily call it feeding playstyle unless you're purposefully actually emptying your brains out and trying to lose the match, right? I would more so just like be willing to like gamble there and see how it goes, because it's just like a well set up play, right? Positionally, time wise, execution wise, that you don't care if you end up dying for it, because it's just gonna be that devastating, right? But at that point I might just be arguing semantics or something like that, and maybe you just like, you agree with me, but your wording is not something that I'm familiar with, right? You'll never get the correct bans. Disagree. I have a video on bans soon, but you have a lot of power in your bans, because you can see what your teammates are banning and aid specific bans to give them the amount of value. Even if you can't necessarily always get the good bans, you can increase the odds that you're gonna get the good bans, or like, let's say if people are just so bad at banning and on, let's say, lower ranks that they are gonna get like good bans 0% of the time without you, maybe with you they get 10% of the time or something. It's not gonna be perfect until people learn about bans, but at least like, let's say in high level play, bans are generally very, very good. Bans are generally very good in high level play. Yeah, let me. Okay, yeah, I'm almost caught up to chat. I'm a top 500 Genji player. Go for now since I have dinner. All right, enjoy your dinner, dude. Thank you again for stopping by and raiding. I actually want to do. Actually, no. I'm gonna stick with Genji here for like 1 or 2 more matches, I think. But I was thinking maybe I could practice Freya. How interested would you all be in Freya? Because the one thing I don't want to do is alienate the viewers that I currently have. Like, I know that part of them would be interested and would watch anything that I do, but since especially now that I have the raid, I would like to just offer the Genji content. Yeah, exactly, Noxy. I enjoy Freya because to me she's kind of like a mixture of Ashe and Tracer. She has the burst damage potential that Ashe has a lot of times, like headshot, right? Or I don't know if headshot, body shot on Ashe kills, but like she doesn't have the same ability that Ashe has to like get those from just like a good high ground angle that the enemy team knows is coming. So like a lot of it is just play kind of like a Tracer angle or some sort of like flanker angle. Use your mobility to get that and surprise double body shot or potentially more than that to get like a quick assassination at the right moments. Freya to me seems like a character that depends a lot on like the angle that you have and the timing. People that are just like playing as if you were Ashe or just Sojourn and stuff are just gonna be playing a worse version of those characters. Even if they hit the shots, because if they hit the shots they would be getting more value on other characters that are better suited for that playstyle. So I think with Freya you do have to go on the angles. It would be a good moment for me to actually go Freya and showcase because of how good the flanks are, especially for the verticality that Freya wants, but here I am playing Genji. So let's see. So, in this case we have an interesting comp. I think we just punished Winston here. Oh, Winston lives. Let me get out and chill. Because on one hand, we talked about Winston earlier, about how we don't necessarily want to just dash commit early because Winston is just going to chase and punish us, right? But on the other hand, a lot of the enemy team is just like static and vulnerable characters. So it would be arguably only the Winston, and if I have Break Pocket I can. So a lot of the rules are just kind of like, it really depends on the specifics of the fights. I can very much just like early engage on these players and not get punished. In this case this was just a bad one. Because I didn't have deflect to cut out, but like I can potentially dash in and not get punished because of the specific support comp that I have despite the Winston. I can also potentially just harass the Winston when he jumps in because he doesn't have quite as easy follow-up from his team with like the soldier on the team, as long as the soldier isn't flanking, right? Like he likely only gets Tracer follow-up a lot of the times. So you can potentially just focus Winston, deal with him, and once he's forced out then we look for our own play. Oops, okay, just laser beamed me. Good job. Since we have Mercy Brig, it makes me more inclined to like actually try to poke out Winston a ton, because as much as Brig is good versus the Winston, we kind of lack damage. So if we just let the Winston jump in with full HP and everything, he does too much. So I kind of like the idea of like early poking the Winston, making sure that he cannot dive as strongly. I think I need to play this. I'm not screwed yet. I need to talk less and focus a little bit more. My Winston should be able to touch. Okay, now I turn. Winston needs help. I can touch Winston, get out! Get out, Winston. Are you not gonna recall? I was wondering. So much greed. But yeah, this is what I mean, like the Juno Mercy is so vulnerable, I can just kind of do this stuff. And with a little bit of healing you don't get punished. I think I'm just gonna get out of the bubble.
Let's take off.
There's her flanking left, so I'm gonna mark that. Don't want the Winston to get a good dive with her. So right now I'm just gonna mark. Where's the Winston? I wanna early poke him. Yeah, you see here, right? Like, the Winston jumped me, but because I saved my dash I could get out, whereas if I dash engaged and he could chase me with leap, might have been trouble. Unless my team can help. He doesn't have primal, so he should be able to kill. Juno is there though. Might still be able to kill. Nice. Only soldier here.
No one can hide from my sight.
I have blade soon. Oh, they have a leader for now. At least it's quick play. Two more fights. Ideally, we'll wait and make this be one fight. We have rally, so I probably just blade this. I'm gonna early poke this Winston, but I don't want to lose my setup for the backline. Nice kill. Now I play aggressive. Now that Widow got that kill. And we would really like these tigers. He has primal, so I cannot blade him. If he didn't have primal, I could just blade this for the sustain because of the perk. Yeah. I think we can get out. I wanted to get the stagger blades that I talked about earlier. We should have an easy time dealing with point because so many of them are far back. But they're not set up. Like, see? Even though they flipped, it's like the Winston isn't there, the Juno isn't there, and I should live here. Winston is gonna jump in alone, has no primal. I just need to make sure that soldier doesn't solo my team. Need to prevent res. Nah, brother. Meditation healing. The Ray healing was crazy. I don't think we can clutch these. I think that overtime is gonna tick so fast and not gonna happen. Yeah, I need to get on immediately. That's all I can do, team. Okay. A little bit of too much narration.
Hello there.
And this happens. Am I going to come today? No. I mean, I am, but later. Later off stream, more focus, since I'm trying to push for champ.
Let us proceed with haste.
Here, since I'm narrating my gameplay, and these matches are relatively high rank, like you can see here, for example, the soldier and enemy team is a GM player, right, who I know. And I know probably even more of these players. So like, this is still a high ranked match where I can just be educational about it, just without the stakes of it, right? Was one up? Just watch my loser skill video.
No matter how tough it gets.
It's gonna explain what you do. Here, again, very mobile backline, so I can kind of set up as I want, but I just need to make sure that the Winston can't quite punish me. And here, even if I don't get the kill, I did not notice the res.
The objective is now
Come on, team. Let's push them out.
Here I'm just limit testing for fun. It was not good for me to overstay once my cooldown cycle was over. Why are we AFK? What's happening? Okay, we're here. Nice. First step, clear space. I don't know what this guy is doing. Oh. prevent res. Winston is gonna serve as a distraction, so they might actually look for res. We need to be careful here. No, she's not going for it. Not really gonna be able to kill that. In fact, it's gonna be hard to kill anything that isn't at the rank because of the mobility. This was not at a good range. I don't know if it's worth holding this far up. I think we just hold closer to points. Once they walk, I might blade, but probably just want to wait for Juno because they have so many ults. Just blade probably won't overpower High Noon, Visor, stuff like that. Also, they probably have their own Juno ults. I'm just kind of on standby waiting for the ult flash. Can flip point if we need. I think Winston got them though. And yeah, my backline is fine with this Winston. Okay. Where is Mr. Winston? I don't know how close he is to Primal. Not close enough it seems. Although it seems like he might live actually. No. Good. I'm hungry. I need to go eat something after this. Now I'm actually gonna showcase an idea. We're not down outs. In fact, we have a good ult economy. But I could, for example, use that position and go for a sneaky assassination in case we're down outs, because if we just let them, the ult fight happen, we just lose. Ah, I thought I could dash and live on one. I didn't need to deflect for the healing. But I needed to deflect for the healing. Yeah, I didn't actually end up going for the assassination. I could have waited for them to get past, maybe tried something in the backline. But there was an idea there, like, if you're down ults like that and you're just gonna lose, if the enemy team sets up their ults, just take an early fight. Need my break to be able to support me here. Okay. I hate when that happens. It's always because of ping too. Like, I press the dash on the moment that it's supposed to like get me out of the room, but because of the ping it takes a little bit longer, so the Winston boop puts me a little bit above and makes me hit the ceiling, so my dash doesn't go through. Have Juno out soon. They're probably playing for that for the while. Okay, that guy I don't think is very high rank. Quick play will have some MMR, but it won't have like as good quality of the matchmaking as comp will.
Round 2, 1.
Don't have as good.
Score 1-1.
Pardon me.
Does your turd have a name?
I never considered giving it one.
But you were always calling it your baby. I thought all babies had names.
Okay.
You've got a point. I'll have Brigitte come up with something.
I would assume they still have a similar comp of like their DPS not really matching the Winston. So if the backline is too far, maybe a turn to burst the Winston, or maybe even just distract the backline when the Winston jumps in. Especially now that we have like Torb. Easier for us to just punish the Winston dive. So I don't necessarily need to actually be there dealing damage. It might be better for me to distract backline, prevent him from getting healed, rather than participating in damaging the Winston. But yeah. I don't think I need to risk here. I think that... Oh, she doesn't have headshots actually. Here I'm just playing my cooldown cycles, getting pressure done while staying safe. Here I can just look for some early poke. I'm not gonna get punished here. Let me actually try the assassination idea. I need to start targeting early though, otherwise my team just gets screwed on a 5v4. Get out, distracting Chu. Might die here. Yeah, I misplayed that. To be fair, it was a risk, right? Two very annoying characters to duel together came in and just rushed me, which isn't good. I wanted to try to get to the Mercy or the Juno, and then I would have gotten good value. But it's the gambits that I accepted, right? It's the one I chose to go for. I have that, so I'm not worried. Gonna deflect for the healing though. I'm gonna break safe. Might actually look for res. But I'm unsure if I can stop it by myself once it's about. Okay. Vault is over. I can just ignore the Winston because they don't have enough firepower. The Brig will just pack me and then I'll just live. So I can just stand still, just fully focus on aiming. I'm not dying to this final baby. Unless my Brig doesn't heal me. Good. Why is my nose so itchy? We can potentially get these kills. Oh, I want this Winston to chase me. I wanna solo blade him.
Setting out the welcome mat.
I don't think that this is good enough setup for me to actually go for the early blade. Although you know what, let's do it. Oh, there's no opening there. I thought there was a little door frame there. I have to go in. I don't think she can afford to res the cast. There are two ideas there. One, I wait, just use my blade alongside Rally, alongside Juno ult, or even later in the fight when cooldowns have been exhausted, and it probably works. But there is also the go early, catch them off guard. I can probably always live there because I have so much sustain. I can maybe force an early ult, and then, for example, I force Juno ult early. Now we have our uncontested Juno ult on points. Or, let's say the Winston jumps to contest points, and I'm holding the backline hostage essentially with Blade. I'm not necessarily looking for the kills, just to distract them, and then my entire team 4v1s the Winston, we kill him, and then the enemy team does not have enough punching power to capture, right? So sometimes going early with ultimate like that, even though it might seem a little bit weird, has some interesting ideas because the enemy team cannot afford to turn at you, right? Like, the enemy team can't really look to kill me, and the enemy team can't even spread out very well to actually make my blade less valuable there, because the enemy team was so far back that they didn't have the time to like spread out and all take their own angles and set up the fight properly, right? So it gives me some freedom and makes a play that would seem usually seemingly be crazy actually viable, and it's very interesting. I have some clips recorded. I don't think it's on this account. I'm not gonna swap accounts now. Of like an early blade idea to a scenario that usually seems like it's completely crazy, but just like because of the specific circumstances and the way that I handled it made it not only make sense but be very, very good. But yeah. I think this is gonna be it for me this stream. It's 2 hours of gameplay. I don't want to do too much more because one, I'm hungry, and two, I still want to grind to get a champ this season, and that requires me to play a few hours off stream. So since most of the day has already passed here, it's already 5 p.m. I need to end stream, get a few hours of gameplay in, have dinner, exercise, all that stuff. So yeah, that's gonna be it from me today. For those that are looking for more educational content like this, there are a lot of VODs on my channel, either on the live tab or like the live stream VODs playlist. There are a bunch of educational videos, edited contents, right? There is my coaching, exclamation mark coaching will get you there. There's also the links in the description. And I also like the Discord. It's a free resource that has a big community full of people that are ready to help each other, send VODs for review, everything, right? So yeah, that's gonna be it from me today. Have a good one, everyone. Let me swap screens, and I'll see you in the next time. Bye bye.